Good morning, everyone. So, today we're going to talk about how to take your monologue and break it down so that you can really understand what you're saying and why you're saying it as your character. So, let me share my screen so I can show you an example. Okay, so here's a monologue. It's from a classic play called A Doll's House. Okay, so the character I'm working with, her name is Nora. Now, Nora, just so you have a little backstory, this is a very classic piece. So this happened a very long time ago. This is when this monologue took place, when this play took place. So Nora, she's in a situation where her husband is very, very rich, and she's doing, back then, the very womanly thing to do back then, just to have kids and just to be home and just to be essentially Nora's a trophy wife. She's just there to look pretty and just kind of that's it. There's no real substance to her. So at this point in the play, she's realizing that. She's realizing that she doesn't know a whole lot. Like she wants to learn and she wants to do things and she wants to live her life more than just being a mom, being a wife. She wants to actually be her own person. So in this monologue, she is confronting her husband and basically telling him off. So let me just read it quick and then we're going to break it down. So Nora says, "You have never loved me. You have only thought it pleasant to be in love with me. It's perfectly true, Torvald," that's her husband. "When I was home with Papa, he told me his opinion about everything. And so I had the same opinions. And if I differed from him, I concealed the facts because he would not have liked it. He called me his doll child, and he played with me just as I used to play with my dolls. And when I came to live with you, I mean that I was simply transferred from Papa's hands to yours. You arranged everything according to your own taste. And so I got the same tastes as your else I pretended to. I'm not really quite sure which. I think sometimes the one and sometimes the other. When I look back on it, it seems to me as if I had been living here like a poor woman, just from hand to mouth. I've existed merely to perform tricks for you, Torvald. But you would have it so. You and Papa have committed a great sin against me. It is your fault that I have made nothing of my life." So, okay, that's what Nora says. Kind of a heavy piece. It is a period piece, so certain terminology and phrasing you might not completely understand. So that just kind of proves it. So, the first thing that I always do when I would, get ready for an audition and I'm kind of breaking down a character, getting to know a monologue, is I would split the monologue into three pieces, three chunks. Doing that makes it easier for you to kind of focus on each individual piece and then to break down each individual piece. It also makes it easier for you to memorize it because you're just doing a little at a time. So what I'm going to do, typically I do this on paper, but I'm going to insert a line in three separate places or two separate places where I think it makes sense. So, "You have never loved me. You've only thought it pleasant to be in love with me. It's perfectly true, Torvald. When I was home with Papa, he told me his opinion about everything. And so I had the same opinions. And if I differed from him, I concealed the facts because he would not have liked it." Right here, you almost feel like a change because then she starts saying how she was his doll child. It's kind of a shift. So I'm going to put a line right here. So, okay. And then I might even put another one, just something like this. It's about here that something new kind of happens. So that's kind of my first piece right here. This is number one, my first chunk, okay? The second one, "He called me his doll child, and he played with me just as I used to play with my dolls. And when I came to live with you, I mean that I was simply transferred from Papa's hands into yours. You arranged everything according to your own taste. And so I got the same tastes as your else I pretended to. I am really not quite sure which. I think sometimes one and sometimes the other. When I think back on it, see, there's kind of a shift there. When I think back on it, so I'm actually going to put another another line right there. So let's do it like this. Okay. And that's kind of a goofy way of doing it, but that's the best I can think of. All right, so we have 3 chunks. We have the first part here, the second part, and then the third part here. That'll make it easier to memorize. All right, the second thing you want to do, and if you're a hybrid student, you'll do this in class with me, and if you're not, I want you to do this at home. You are going to go through the entire piece, and what I want you to do is to circle or highlight whatever makes sense to you, whether you're doing it online or on a piece of paper, or you're writing it down. Circle or highlight every single piece of punctuation, okay? Every single piece. And I'm going to explain why in a second. So let me show you how I'm gonna do that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take every period, every comma that I see, and I'm going to highlight it. Here, let's see. I might have made a little mistake there, but that's okay. Every single one. So I'm going to pause my video and I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to come back and show you kind of what I do with it. Okay, so I did my little bit of homework. Let me show you what it looks like. Okay, so something I want you to notice. I did not only, I didn't only go through my punctuation and highlight them. I did one more thing, which is a really important step to include. And that is to underline all the words that you think are really important to emphasize or to punch out when you're saying it. So I'm kind of taking it a step back and going there. So let me read for you a small part of this monologue with the emphasized words in it. Okay. So remember, and you can overdo it when you're practicing, but you want to make it natural when you're performing. So let me read through it, and I'm going to punch out the words that I underline so you can read it through with me. You have never loved me. You have only thought it pleasant to be in love with me. It is perfectly true, Torvald. When I was at home with Papa, he told me his opinion about everything. And so I had the same opinions. And if I differed from him, I concealed the fact because he would not have liked it. Now, that's just one part, okay? But you can almost notice a difference than just kind of racing through it and reading it. It has more meaning to it that way. So by doing this, you are feeling what you're saying. You're getting into it a bit more. You're emphasizing certain words that are important, okay? So I would very much encourage you, and if you need to pause my video right now to do that, go through your monologue and underline or highlight or whatever makes the most sense to you, bold it maybe, all the words that are really important to punch out. And then you can come back here. So I'm going to keep going. Now you're wondering, why did I highlight all of these pieces of punctuation? Now it's for a reason, okay? Any monologue or lines, any dialogue, monologues, et cetera, from a playwright, you have to assume that it was written that way specifically for a reason, okay? So we're gonna do a little activity, all right? So I'm gonna take you with me, and I'm gonna try to do the best I can. Okay, so how you're gonna do this, you are gonna walk out your monologue, okay? So you're gonna walk around while saying your monologue, all right? Anytime that you reach a period, you are gonna stop, and then you're gonna keep walking, okay? Anytime you reach a comma, you're gonna pause for a second and then keep going, okay? Anytime you reach a colon, a semicolon, et cetera, a exclamation point, a question mark, full stop, okay? So let me show you kind of what this looks like. And I know I'm going in a very small circle. You have never loved me. You have only thought it pleasant to be in love with me, period. Okay? When I was at home with Papa, comma, He told me his opinion about everything, comma. And so I had the same opinions, semicolon. Okay. Now, the reason we do this, and you're like, obviously, I'm not going to perform it this way. This is really unnatural and weird. The reason that we do this is that actually feeling what you're saying and putting these pauses in, sometimes it can help you to kind of find something that you didn't see there before in your monologue. So when you're actually performing it, I might actually keep some of those pauses in there. So if I'm standing still and I'm performing, I'm auditioning, I could say, you have never loved me. You have only thought it pleasant to be in love with me. It's perfectly true, Torvald. When I was at home with Papa, he told me his opinion about everything. So notice I put more pauses into what I was saying, okay? So that's the reason that we do that. That's why we do that small activity, is to almost put yourself in the moment of what you're saying and to almost understand even more why you're saying what you're saying. All right, so step one, when you're breaking down a monologue, is to chop it into 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3, okay? The second thing you do, and I went a little out of order, is to underline all of the really important words that you want to punch out. You want to make the audience hear those words, okay? The third thing is to highlight all of the punctuation, periods, commas, exclamation points, question marks, colons, semicolons, everything, okay? Highlight it and walk it through. So again, you completely stop when you reach a period or a semicolon, exclamation point, question mark, anything, any kind of piece of punctuation that would make you stop, okay? If it's a comma or something that's very brief, you just kind of pause and then just keep moving, okay? All right, so that's how you break it down. Now, I want to introduce you to a little more terminology. So let me switch my screen. Okay. Now, you're also going to notice this in this assignment, you just, after watching my video, okay? Let me explain a couple of these things. Now, rule number 1 in acting, no matter if you're doing improv, if you're doing a play, if you're auditioning, okay, you always, as a character, you always want something from someone. So what that means is you are saying whatever you're saying for a reason, okay? What do you want from the other person? Something to think about, okay? So for example, if I'm talking about the Nora monologue, I want my husband to hear me. You know, I want him to understand where I'm coming from. I want him to kind of take that responsibility that him and Nora's father, you know, just kind of kept her in the palm of their hand and didn't let her live her own life. Okay, now a couple terms to know, okay, is a beat. So this is every time you pause, shift what you are feeling or thinking about, or have a realization, okay, et cetera, et cetera. So that's basically any kind of piece of punctuation. You guys put beats in. Putting, you know, highlighting the punctuation, you kind of put in a place where you're going to pause or you're going to take a moment. So that's called a beat, all right? A super objective. Now, we've talked about objectives before. That's what the character you're playing, what they want. Now, a super objective, okay, is bigger. It's like not only what do they want in that moment or in that monologue, what are they trying to say? A super objective is like, what do they want more than anything in the world? Like deep down, if you got to know this character, what do they want more than anything? Okay. Do they want to succeed? Do they want to feel secure? Do they want to find love? Do they want approval? What do they want more than anything in the world? And that's not something you're going to find in a script and read, oh, they want this more than anything in the world. That's something you come up with. And you can only do that by getting to know the character that you're playing. Okay. An objective, that's in the moment. What does your character want from the other person they're talking to? So what does Nora want from Torvald in that moment? And a tactic What are they going to do? Well, my New York came out just there. What's your character going to do to get what they want from that other person? Okay. And it could be several things. So for example, in the Nora monologue, maybe in one moment she's guilting him. Maybe in one moment she's insulting him. Maybe in one moment she's doing something else. All these different tactics to get what they want. Okay. Now, here's your assignment. Essentially, you're going to do what I just did. So you are going to open up your monologue, okay? You're going to chop it into 3 like I did. And if you're a hybrid student, then we're going to be doing this in class together, okay? Chop it into 3. You're going to underline all the important terms. You're going to highlight all of the punctuation, okay? And then you're going to break it down. You are going to ask yourself, okay? Let's see, I'm sorry. What tactics did this character use to get what they want? All right. So you can, in each moment of your monologue, get specific. What are they doing in that moment? What do they want from that other person? Okay. Once you've broken it down like this, what I want you to do is either take a screenshot or share this with me if it's on a Google Doc or a Word document, and attach it below. Okay. And I also have another example for you to look through here that has to do with tactics. Okay. So take a look. Please email me if you have any questions about anything. And I hope you guys have an awesome week. So thank you.